Hello, and welcome to the Future Proof Podcast. This is our bi-monthly podcast where we chat about stuff we've been working on and anything cool we're planning. I'm Melissa Avery Weir.
And I'm Gregory Avery Weir, and we've had an announcement lately that's pretty exciting.
We have the Rosette Dice, it's almost hard to call it the other thing now, the Rosette Diceless supplemental book that we've been talking about for the last few months has an official name, which is the Rosette Diceless Companion. Just as a reminder, it is a book that's coming out that is separate from the original source book and will contain some advice articles, a mixture of the supplemental material that's on the site now, as well as some new articles, including examples of play, and just sort of advice on things we've seen as we've continued playing the game.
Yeah, stuff that's a special challenge.
Exactly, yep. Ways to develop your characters and things like that we've just seen over the years now. It also includes some new rules based on, again, our experience playing, where we said, well, in a long enough campaign, you might find that you want to repurpose the use of experience points, and so we give some optional rules for that. And it also includes new character options, so new traits, new resources, basically new things that would go on your character sheet, including some really neat options around having pooled items, so the entire table being kind of on a team or
subsets of the table.
Or subsets of the table, yes. It is now the Rosette Diceless Companion, and we also released what the cover looks like. So if you head over to our blog, futureproofgames.com/blog, you can see there what the cover is, and it's great. I love it. We've kept with the theme of speculative architecture, which is architecture of spaces and buildings in a way that is impossible to build, but really kind of explores the way we conceive of space. And so that's what the cover of Rosette Diceless was in that vein, and so we kept with that for Diceless Companion, and I think it's lovely.
Yeah. And if you're looking to hear Rosette Diceless get played, I'm working on editing my personal podcast. So I have been running an actual play role-playing podcast for a while called Tabletop Garden.
It's very good.
Thank you. The next campaign will be using Rosette Diceless. It'll be The Great Molasses Flood. And I don't have a date when it will be released, but I'm working on it. If you go to tabletop.garden, you can sign up and get the preview. The plotline's going to be a weird historical fiction story about a real historical event and the weird class and race and societal issues around it.
I will say, so I was a player in The Great Molasses Flood. I have described the story that we told in the course of that to two people that I know won't listen to it in podcast form, but enjoy our creative works just in generally, and they were absolutely enthralled. They were like, this is really cool to take this historical event and twist it this way and explore XYZ. So, even people who are not like entrenched in the actual play community have thought it sounds really cool. So
awesome. And yeah, as part of that, I think we had a few things that have been kind of nagging at us, and doing that recording in a way where it's like, oh, we're going to have people listening to this, cemented a few ways in which we wanted to fix or update or adjust or clarify aspects of the original Rosette Diceless rules. And so part of that, kind of roughly at the same time as we're releasing the companion, we're going to be releasing errata to the original book. And there are things like clarifying how you assign resources to adversaries, or separating condition track, like the stress you take, from the afflictions you can take to reduce stress in a way that just makes them a little more separate, a little easier to understand, and less prone to confusion. So that stuff should be coming out pretty soon. We're thinking there will be at least an errata document early that's like, here are the changes that are made. And then at some point there will be a digital version and a print version. Probably the digital versions of the original book will get updated first, and then the print version will probably happen a little later after that, since we have to do proofs and stuff.
Yep.
But if you want to get as much info as you can on Rosette Diceless Companion now, Melissa set up a storefront for it.
I did. So, part of releasing any sort of product is you have to go to all the places where you're going to sell it and like upload your pictures and your description text and all the sorts of things that you see when you go to Amazon. And itch.io, unsurprisingly, is the nicest, easiest place to do this, the most accessible. And so we have the Rosette Diceless Companion up on itch.io. So we are futureproofgames.itch.io, and it's listed there. If you follow us, you'll get updates as we post them on like a devlog there or anything like that. So, or when we release new versions, for instance, you can see it there, but you can't buy it. There's no, we're not doing any sort of pre-ordering or anything fancy like that. So yes, it's up at Itch. If you think you'll want to buy it on Amazon or DriveThruRPG, those pages aren't up yet. They want, like the book in hand and kind of like pretty ready to purchase before you do that. So itch.io is where things are sitting right now. We have done one other strange thing in the world of revisiting older projects of ours. Greg, we got a support ticket or two recently.
Yeah, we had people saying, I'm having trouble installing Ossuary, which was initially weird because we were like, we haven't made any changes to that lately. And it's not actually related to the recent death of Flash, even though Ossuary is kind of built in Flash. It's built in Adobe Air. But it turns out that when we first released Ossuary, we were careful to make sure. So when you release something in Adobe Air, it needs to be signed with a certificate, which is basically like, this was done by us, by Futureproof, so that like someone else couldn't make a fake version of Ossuary and like upload a virus onto your machine. And we were like, we want to make sure that this certificate expires far in the future, like 2050 or whatever.
So far in the future.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't double check that the way that we had done that worked. And so our certificate expired in late 2020, I think. And so I kind of had to go through and be like, oh, okay, make a new certificate and make sure it works. And so there are new versions. Steam was unaffected because of the way that Steam installs stuff. But Itch and Humble, anywhere else you got the game, you'll need to re-download Ossuary. And then we also weren't supporting modern versions of the Mac OS because they require 64-bit only. And so we've also released a new version of the OS X version that should work on modern systems. So if you haven't had a chance to check out Ossuary, you should check it out. And if you are having trouble, hopefully all your trouble is fixed. And if not, you should write us at info@futureproofgames.com or use whatever the storefront's support options are, and that'll reach us too.
Yep. If you want to listen back to how we do things on a Mac when we don't have a Mac, I'll drop a link in the show notes to the podcast episode where we talked about releasing, it would have been last spring, when we released the update to Majesty of Colors Remastered, where we had to kind of scramble because our Mac hardware died. So we used a similar solution this time, basically renting a Mac to do the work there. So it's pretty cool. It seemed to work pretty smoothly. We, paid a few bucks and had a Mac available. So I'll link to that discussion from last year. And you can find all of our stuff over at futureproofgames.com. We're over on Twitter at PlayFutureproof and on YouTube as Futureproof Games. You can hit us up with any questions or comments over on our blog or on social media. And our theme music is Juparo by Broke for Free, which is used with permission.